sensitivity, but is there an ayah or a hadith that you find yourself going back to a lot and dissecting and reading and almost living your life by? Does one exist?
There's so much, and one of the things that we do in Ramadan, of course, is to listen to the whole Quran in the Taraweeh prayers, and it's, by my stage of life, it's become quite a familiar landscape, and you savor the syncopations, the sonorities, the poetic qualities of the language, and you're always bumping into old friends and verses, and you realize, I didn't know where this was, it's in this surah. It's a very kind of cultural experience. I think that the summation of Quranic religion is God calls you to the abode of peace. And that the heart has to be at ease. So, يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ, which is really talking about the end times, but is more universal than that. On that day, your family and your wealth that you accumulated will be of no benefit to you. You just have to come to God with a sound heart. And this idea of the sound heart is very important in prophetic teaching. That however smart we may be tricked out externally, however impressive our bank balances might look, however many numbers or letters we have after our names, if we're not sound and healthy inside, in the heart, none of that will be a source of pleasure for us in either world. So, and the lesson for that is that you look for sound hearts in humanity, even across religious boundaries, and in anybody who is a profoundly decent human being, whose heart is pure of ostentation, of hypocrisy, of lying, somebody who lives a decent human life. That's a kind of sign of God, and you can be inspired by the presence of God in that individual, because despite the modern media culture which glorifies all the vices, almost every Hollywood movie is an exploration of the excitement of all of the 7 deadly sins. Now, everything is upended, that despite that uproar and confusion and the suffering that results, there's still so many good people with sound hearts, including young people, children. Purity is still possible. It kind of wells up from the pure spring of the spirit in human hearts, and it's very difficult to pollute it completely. So my teachers, my Islamic teachers, when I was studying in the Middle East, always emphasized this. Always look for the good hearts. Don't judge by appearances, don't judge by affiliations. Where you see a pure heart, a sound heart, qalbun salim, as the Quran says, there's the presence of God, and you should enjoy that light and be uplifted by what God has done for that person.
Fascinating. One that I like, that whenever I hear it, I always think that the world could be a better place if more people read it and incorporated, which is أعمل لدنياك كأنك تعيش أبدا. Live for the world as if you will live forever, and live for your afterlife, or the afterlife, as if you're going to die tomorrow.
Yes, indeed. I wouldn't like to live in this world indefinitely, not just because of the looming climate change catastrophe, nanotechnologies, artificial intelligence, the various existential threats that modernity is imposing on itself. But I think that the human lifespan is what is appropriate given the capacities of the human mind, and the nightmare Elon Musk scenario of making us live longer and longer and longer, who knows what the mental health consequences of that would be. Because as we travel through life, we pick up traumas, shameful memories, missed opportunities, bereavements, regrets, and do we really want to outlive all of our friends and the world that we know, and to be bewildered old people in a cybernetic world of plasma ghosts or whatever it is that I don't think so. I think that the divine wisdom in giving us 70 years and 10 or thereabouts is exactly right, and we should accept that wisdom. So, but who knows what the future will hold. But human nature doesn't change. And that's always the good news. And religion, part of the strength of Islam for me, and this book that I recently brought out, Travelling Home, looks at that, is that it gives us this constancy, these reassuring, firm coordinates. The book is primarily about Muslim situation in Europe, integration, a theology of Islam in Europe. It's not really a sociological study. that the reason for the resilience of Islam under sometimes very difficult conditions, and the reason why people continue to trade up to Islam, is the miraculous intactness of its basic practices. That the prayer, yesterday in Medina, with whatever it was, 1.9 million people from every country on earth, you know what it's like. It's kind of like the Day of Judgment. Everyone is there.
Literally.
Yeah, but what unites them is that the form of the prayer is exactly the way the Holy Prophet prayed, and Muslims have always prayed. And there's a tremendous sense of security and reassurance that comes from finding certain core things in one's life that have never changed and almost certainly never will change. That's the same with Ramadan, with the Hajj, with all of our basic institutions. So that gives me hope as well. And I see, why do people go to Medina? It's not even a religious obligation. The Hajj is an obligation, Medina. They go there out of love, really. 1.9 million people putting up with crowds and airports and stuff and visas because of love for the man, for the Holy Prophet. This is his darajat al-aliyat al-rafi'ah that we pray for him after the call to prayer. Part of that is the extraordinary love that these people have for him, and they're in tears because they're near the chosen one and God's beloved. So the power of love in our cynical age brings 1.9 million people from Indonesia or Cambridge or wherever, just out of love and respect for the Holy Prophet. So humanity in its basic needs and vulnerabilities and capacities is still there, it's still intact. So that's why I'm optimistic.